inspiration in our turning toward the positive. And in that critical moment in 1992, he challenged me and he said, why can't you use the same tools of modern neuroscience to study kindness and to study compassion in addition to studying anxiety and fear and depression and stress?
Yeah, has anybody ever studied love? That's what we need to do. We need to study love. There should be a branch of science for love. We need to know everything about it so we can spread the word, guys.
And I didn't have a very good answer for him on that day other than that it's hard. But you know, when we first began to study...
Yeah, by the way, cheers. What are you drinking? Let me know in the comments. I'm drinking coffee. It is 5 o'clock in the morning in beautiful Austin, Texas. Hopefully it's beautiful where you're at as well. Let me know where you're at, represent where you're from, and let me know what you're sipping on right now.
Study.
First off, philosophy is a confession. Go love somebody that you don't like. Hey, what's up, knowledge seekers? Thanks for clicking on the link. WTJ Knowledge Drops back with another TED Talks reaction for you. This is episode number 7 in the reaction series. More on that in a second. If you're new, welcome. If you're not, welcome back. If you are a returning knowledge nomad, as usual, we don't have the time for me to express my gratitude for the support. It means the world to me. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. If you are new, welcome. My name is Wesley Travis Johnson. This is my channel, WTJ Knowledge Drops, where spirituality meets science, and I try to blend Eastern and Western spirituality, and we just call it philosophy. If that sounds like something that you'd be interested, please consider subscribing. If you do, remember to hit the bell so you can stay in the loop and never miss a drop. Okay, like I said, this is episode 7, and it is How Mindfulness Changes the Emotional Life of Our Brains by Richard J. Davidson at TEDx San Francisco. I've never heard of the guy. This topic is great for me. All right, how mindfulness changes the emotional life of our brains. Let's get it. Firstly, hold on. From this point forward, if you back out, your device will explode. So please stay till the end, and you will save your device. Shut up, Wes. Let's go.
I'm a psychologist and a neuroscientist by training. When I first began my career, I began with a question. Why is it that some people are more vulnerable to life's slings and arrows and others more resilient? And that question is still central to all the work that we do. And we were particularly interested in how we can nudge people along this continuum.
What do y'all think? I think it's how you think. You know, you're putting out whatever energy you're thinking about. And I think that's what causes what he's talking about. Shut up, Wes.
To nourish and nurture the qualities that promote human flourishing. In the early part of my career, I focused almost exclusively on the negative side of the equation, on adversity.
If you are new on this channel, I do a lot of Hinduism with like monks and swamis and gurus. And so this just reminded me of that. If you're interested, there'll be a link at the end so you can go down that road. It's beautiful, the Vedanta. It's way more attractive, let's say, than religion. Shut up, Wes.
On the brain circuits that were important for understanding why some people are more vulnerable to stress, why others may be more likely to develop a depression or anxiety. And then something very significant happened in my life. In 1992, I first met His Holiness the Dalai Lama. And this picture of His Holiness was taken in Madison, Wisconsin, and he's visited us several times. And
shout out to the Dalai Lama and the 90s. Peak terrible humanity.
He was the chief inspiration in our turning toward the positive. And in that critical moment in 1992, he challenged me and he said, why can't you use the same tools of modern neuroscience to study kindness and to study compassion in addition to studying anxiety and fear and depression and stress?
Yeah, has anybody ever studied love? That's what we need to do. We need to study love. There should be a branch of science for love. We need to know everything about it so we can spread the word, guys.
And I didn't have a very good answer for him on that day other than that it's hard. But you know, when we first...
By the way, cheers. What are you drinking? Let me know in the comments. I'm drinking coffee. It is 5 o'clock in the morning in beautiful Austin, Texas. Hopefully it's beautiful where you're at as well. Let me know where you're at, represent where you're from, and let me know what you're sipping on right now.
Began to study kindness, when we first began to study anxiety and depression, that was hard too, and we've made some progress in that area. So the work that we and others have been doing is predicated on a critical insight in modern science, the insight concerning neuroplasticity. Our brains are constantly changing, constantly being shaped.
Yeah. The only problem with neuroplasticity is it takes tons and tons of repetition. And it's so hard. Like if you lose a limb, it becomes really, really hard to move it. Almost basically impossible. But if you do something repeated enough, another part of your brain will pick it up, that the part that was lost. But it takes lots of repetition. I didn't have the patience for it. It burned too much of my mental energy to keep trying to move it. It's pointless. So, neuroplasticity, it does work, but you have to be very, very dedicated.
By the forces around us. But we have typically very little awareness of what those forces are. Our brains are changing wittingly or unwittingly. Most of the time it's unwittingly. Most of the time we're not aware, and we also have little control over those forces. And the invitation in the work that I'm sharing with you today is that we can actually take more responsibility for our own brains by transforming our minds. But first...
Woo, I love that. Yeah, coming out swinging, Mr. Davidson. I love that analogy.
First, let me share with you what some of the consequences of having our brains being shaped unwittingly are. And I'd like to focus on 4 challenges that have been critical in our society today.
How do y'all feel about depression and just emotions in general? Do you feel like you have control over them or not? I feel like I have control over it, you know? Yeah, I forgot my point. I'll remember in a second.
Hey. And these challenges are failures of well-being in very important ways. The first is distractibility. Research indicates
Time high.
that if we take people out and about in the world and we text them, and this has been done in a study that was published a number of years ago, very influential study with several thousand people. We text them and we ask them 3 questions. The first question is, what are you doing right now? And they check off from a list of activities. Second question, where is your mind right now? Is it focused on what you're doing, or is it focused elsewhere? And the third question is, at this very moment, how happy or unhappy are you? Here's what was found. The average American adult spends 47% of her or his waking life not paying attention to what we're doing.
Yeah, that shit will get you killed, guys. Pay attention. Always be aware of your surroundings. Always.
Folks, we could do better. And when they were not paying attention to what they're doing, they were significantly less happy. The scientific paper upon which this is based was titled, "A Wandering Mind is an Unhappy Mind."
Idle hands. I believe that 100%. You know, your mind starts going down weird roads when you're alone. Just remember that your thoughts are the most potent whenever you are alone. So be careful what you're thinking when you're by yourself. You will put that energy out.
In addition, there is a huge increase in the incidence of attention deficit disorders in children in this country. This is a graph showing a trend over the last decade. There are many
I feel like the pharmaceutical companies have pushed this. That's the reason for the increase. They got to sell their meds. Especially over here in the United States. We don't give a shit how you make money. You know, we've tried to put these things in place to regulate, but it doesn't do shit. The FDA, they don't give a shit. They're getting fed. They're getting money from big pharma, big everything, to keep pushing whatever, natural remedies, they get pushed out over here. Because if you have natural remedies, you don't need to buy these made-up pharmaceuticals.
Reasons for this increase, but some of them have to do with a genuine increase in distractibility. If we're all honest with ourselves, our nation is suffering not simply from a fiscal deficit, but from an attention deficit. We also are suffering from loneliness. Despite the fact that we're all so much more interconnected, 76% of middle-aged Americans report that they have moderate to high levels of loneliness. And this loneliness is not an ephemeral, subjective.
I haven't had a social life in a decade. It's going on 10 years since I've had a stroke, and I retired from fun after that happened, and I haven't gone back. So I haven't really talked to any friends that I've had in forever. If you're watching this and you're a friend, which you're probably not, because your closest people to you don't support you. That's another video for another time. But, yeah. I think leaving the house is overrated. I am 100% social on social media. Other than that, I'm too damn disabled to leave the house. I'm unemployable. That's why I need all the support I can get, guys.
State, it also impacts our bodies, our physical health. Recent research shows that loneliness is actually a more significant predictor by more than a 2-fold magnitude of early mortality compared to obesity. So this exacts real tolls on our brains and our bodies. And again, research shows we can do better. Negative self-talk and depression, we all have a narrative in our mind that we carry around about who we are. And sometimes we have negative beliefs about ourselves, which can culminate in depression. And this turns out to be a very serious problem. Depression is on the rise. If you look at trends just over the last few years, what you see is a very large increase.
I think it's a problem if it's a combination of social media and pharmaceutical companies pushing Wellbutrin. Yeah, I'm on it too. So don't be don't act, you know what I'm saying. We're all on it. This is why social media has been frying our brains and causing loneliness. Isn't that weird how the access to everything makes you feel like you have nothing?
Particularly among women. Over the last 3 years alone, there's been a 33% increase in diagnoses of major depression in women. And this trend is occurring in teens as well. These are disturbing trends in kids ages 12 through 17, and the gender.
100% social media. If you are a younger person, don't look at somebody's life on social media and compare it to yours, because you're only seeing the best parts with the best angles and the best lighting, and you're going to look at it and be like, well, they look so happy and I don't, so I must suck. Don't let it get to that point. But I'm 100% positive that these numbers increasing are 100% from social media. Kids don't need to be on it. I mean, keyboard warrior, kids talk, they say stupid shit because they know they're not going to get in trouble. The internet is a wild west. It's the Wild West out there, guys. We probably need internet police. I'm not even playing. Like old school AOL. They used to have a police force. It was called TOS, Terms of Service. And they would roam chat rooms looking for trolls and people abusing rules, and they would kick you offline for a while. Bring that shit back, guys.
Difference also is very, unfortunately, robust, where the incidence is much greater in females, and this trend is getting worse over time. And again, the evidence suggests
that 100% shows you that it's social media. The women, they're more worried about how they look than men. And if you go on Instagram, it is a hardcore thirst trap. I don't ever get on it because I'm not thirsty, and I'm definitely not giving a shit to any woman. Hell no. I'm not that stupid, ladies. 10 years ago, maybe, but now I know you guys are way too smart. You can drain every penny out of every man's pocket if you wanted to, but it ain't gonna be mine.
And that we can actually train our mind and harness the power of neuroplasticity to change these qualities in our mind. Suicide rate.
Woo-hoo. Yeah, I didn't even think about applying it to metaphysics stuff, just in the physical. So yeah, maybe we can use neuroplasticity to spread love. Lots of repetition. You got to just start loving yourself every time you look in the mirror. Every time you talk to another human being, you see yourself in them, and you love them for that. They may not be exactly like you, but at the end of the day, we're all the same thing. We're all connected. Love that person so you can love yourself properly. If you have ill feelings toward anybody, you can't look in the mirror and say you love yourself. It just can't happen. You got to love everybody.
It's very disturbing. During the Great Depression, there was a huge elevation, and those rates have come back down. And then since the year 2000, there has been, unfortunately, a steep rise in suicide rates. And again, this is not something.
What happened in 1997? The internet was invented, basically. Mid-90s. And there you have it. To the moon.
Restricted to adults. Our teens are showing more than doubling over the last 10 years in suicides, so that today in the United States, Unfortunately, more than one
Hey, go tell your kids that you love them and make sure they're not on social media. Look what they're doing online, guys. It's the Wild West out there. You can't just let them roam free. Shout out to all the parents.
teenager every single day is taking her or his own life. There also is a pervasive loss of meaning and purpose that people are reporting.
I also think it's because we are not supposed to have all this information, and we're not supposed to be able to connect with all these people. So all the problems seem like they're intensified, but it's just because we're aware of more of it happening, I think. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comment. I need the engagement.
And this loss is not simply, again, a subjective quality, but also exacts a toll on our health and other aspects of our well-being. Research shows that a lack of purpose predicts an early death. In a recent study, people who were in their 60s with a low sense of purpose had more than twice the likelihood of dying within 5 years compared to people who reported a high sense of purpose.
You got to find a purpose, guys, for that reason right there. Look at that. 2 times as likely to die within 5 years or so with the lack of purpose. So find a purpose. And if I were to make a suggestion, it would be to spread the word of love and put out the most positive energy you can possibly put out. A, to change the world. B, to change yourself. And C, to change the collective.
So again, there are intimate connections between our psychological well-being and our systemic health. Each of these challenges affects the mind and the brain. We're not thriving, but the invitation is that we really could be. So we've developed a framework for understanding a healthy mind, and this framework includes 4 pillars. The first pillar is awareness, and awareness includes the capacity to focus our attention, to resist distraction. It also includes a quality that psychologists and neuroscientists call meta-awareness. Meta-awareness is knowing what our minds are doing. How many of you have ever had the experience of reading a book where you're reading each word on a page, and you read one page, you may read a second page, and after a few minutes you have absolutely no idea what you've just read? That is an example of a lapse in meta-awareness.
It's easy to do when you're reading a book because, let's be honest, it's hard to focus your attention on that. I like audiobooks now. What's a good book recommendation? Throw it in the comments. Mine would be Sapiens and The Mastery of Love and The Mastery of Self. I don't do fiction books. More power to you if you do, but I just can't get into it. I got to be learning or laughing or loving or I'm out. Shut up, Wes.
But the moment we recognize that we've been lost and come back, that is a moment of meta-awareness. And we have reason to believe that meta-awareness is crucial. Actually, it's necessary, we believe, for real transformation to occur. The second pillar of...
I think that all boils down to manifestation. Because if you're being positive like this, you're going to attract positive shit. So I think this all has to do with manifestation.
Second pillar of a healthy mind is connection. Connection refers to...
I heard a pretty cool thing about connection the other day. This is for all the people that are addicted out there. The opposite of addiction isn't sobriety. The opposite of addiction is connection. People that have lost connections are very vulnerable to turn to addiction. So be aware of that. Another thing of awareness. Also, I've come up with the saying, intelligence is only 50% awareness and 50% memory. So if you're paying attention, if you're paying complete attention, it'll help you retain the information as well, and then you can be intelligent. So awareness is very crucial.
Those with a healthy mind is connection. Connection refers to those qualities which nurture harmonious interpersonal relationships. Qualities like appreciation, like kindness, like compassion, having a positive outlook. And again, the research shows that it doesn't take much to start activating these latent qualities which can flourish and become stronger. The third pillar of a healthy mind is insight. And insight is about insight into the narrative that we all have about ourselves. At the very extreme end of the continuum,
they're always sick and bitching too, guarantee it. You bring in what you put out, guys. So if you're putting out misery and miserable shit, that's what you're gonna get back, trust me. I just did a video on karma, the Advaita Vedanta karma. And if you want to check it out, I'll leave a link in the description. There'll be a card at the end of the video.
There are people who have a very negative narrative. They have negative self-beliefs, and they hold those beliefs to be a true description of who they are. That is a prescription for depression. And a healthy mind entails changing our relationship to this narrative. Not so much changing the narrative itself, but changing our relationship to it so that we can look at the narrative and see it for what it is. What is this narrative? It's a constellation of thoughts. And when we can see it as that, we can foster more room, more breathing room, and this leads to increased well-being. Finally, the last pillar of a healthy mind is purpose. And here, we're talking about having a sense that our life is headed in a particular direction. And most importantly, it is about taking more and more of the activities in our lives as belonging to this sense of purpose. Can you envision living your life so that taking out the garbage and doing the laundry is still related to your sense of purpose?
I think so. You can do all that and still have purpose. And I think that is love. That can blanket everything, that purpose. Just do it. Shut up, Wes.
Being able to broaden it in this way is a very crucial ingredient of a healthy mind. Have you ever trained your mind?
Have you? I have. I've gotten a little bit of my arm back. I can lift it up. But that's it. I can't straighten it. I can't move my fingers. But I have trained my mind to overcome the depression of the major life transformation. So, what about you? Have you trained your mind with anything? Let me know in the comments. I need the engagement. Research
from neuroscience leads us to understand that there are two fundamentally different kinds of learning. One form of learning we call declarative learning, which is learning about things. I can learn the value of kindness by sitting down and studying texts about kindness, but this won't necessarily lead us to become kinder. We can teach people the value of honesty, but this will not necessarily make them an honest person. In order to cultivate these qualities, we need a second form of learning, and that is called procedural learning. Neuroscience teaches us that these kinds of learning operate through totally different brain circuits. We need both to produce real transformation. The wiring in our brains is not fixed, it's adaptable, and we can harness the power of neuroplasticity to change our brain. Let me give you one example. This is an example from research that we did where we randomized people to a group that received compassion training for 2 weeks, another group that received training from cognitive therapy. We put people in the MRI scanner before and after the 2 weeks of training, and lo and behold, we see systematic differences.
Okay, so I did a video on consciousness as well, and they put a spiritual teacher in an MRI machine, and then a patient in an MRI machine down the hall in a different room, and in some cases across the street in a totally different building. But they were both in MRI machines, and whenever the spiritual teacher started to pray for the patient, a part of the spiritual teacher's brain lit up like that, and almost immediately the patient's brain in the same area lit up. So you tell me if prayer is real and if it works.
After just 7 hours of practice, our brains can change in a remarkably rapid period of time. The changes that are displayed here are changes in a circuit that involve the prefrontal cortex and the ventral striatum, a circuit very important for certain kinds of positive emotions, which gets strengthened after just this short amount of practice. So these and other kinds of data indicate that the brain really can change quite quickly. It doesn't mean that these changes will last, but it means that they can occur, they can begin, and with systematic practice, they will endure. We view this as an urgent public health need. So we need to start someplace. I would recommend 3 minutes a day. When human beings first evolved on this planet, none of us were brushing our teeth. And yet, today, we all do. This is not part of our genome. This is a learned behavior. And it doesn't take much to start these mechanisms in the brain to change. So we can do this when we're doing other things. We can do this while we're commuting. We can do this as we're literally brushing our teeth. We can do this as we're having our first cup of coffee or tea in the morning. We can do this.
I think it's the want that's key. You gotta want to. You know? It's like an addict. You know, you can't make them stop. They gotta want to do it at the end of the day. And, you know, that's just another sign you control your own thoughts. If you don't want to feel sad, guess what you do? Don't think about sad shit. Pretty simple, huh? Shut up, Wes.
As we're walking, this can be incorporated in routines of our daily life. So we can nourish our mind, and through it we can change the world. We can reduce implicit bias that gets under the skin. This is something that we've shown can occur with strengthening connection. We can increase school achievement.
Woo! This is needed so much right now in America. We are so divided, and it's ridiculous. I don't even watch the news. I choose sanity over insanity. I do see what's going on. I do have some feelings on it, but that's another time, another place. I have problems that I gotta deal with in my own head before I worry about what other people are fucking doing. So
we've and others have shown this with training and awareness. We can reduce healthcare costs potentially by cultivating well-being, as the connections that I've illustrated show. We can cultivate a strong sense of purpose, we can reduce distraction, and we can increase productivity and focus. And I'd like to end with just a 1-minute short period of practice to give you an experiential taste of this. So if you all just sit for a moment, put down your pens and devices, and I invite you to bring a loved one into your mind and your heart. You can leave your eyes open or closed. And for those who are viewing this online, please share this 1 minute with us. And as you bring this loved one into your mind and your heart, cultivate the strong aspiration that they be happy and be free of suffering, and they share the same wish for happiness and the same wish to be free of suffering as all human beings. And you can envision a time in their life when they may have been having some difficulty, and you can say a simple phrase in your mind: may you be happy, may you be free of suffering. And simply notice whatever may come up for you. And then we can do this for many categories of people, including a difficult person. So I invite you to join us on this journey, and the very future of humanity, we think.
Perfect for loving somebody that you don't like. You can change the way you think pretty quickly. If you're prejudiced right now, or you're feeling a certain way about a certain group of people, you can change if you want to. The problem is we don't want to. We're stuck in our ways. But I'm telling you guys, love is way better than hate. I've been on both roads. Stop hating each other and start loving each other. Put yourself in their shoes and try to relate. I know it's hard. Not everybody can do it. But you got to be able to relate. If you haven't embraced your dark side, I suggest you embrace your dark side and learn to control it. It makes you a better person in the long run. I don't trust the people that act like they're not evil and they never have been. I don't trust them. Shout out Elon Musk.
So I invite you to join us on this journey, and the very future of humanity, we think, depends on it. Thank you very much.
All right. Very well. I'm glad I watched that. Hope you guys did too. It fits really well with what I'm trying to push over here at WTJ Knowledge Drops. Love is everything. If you made it this far, thank you very much. I love you. I will do another TED Talks video later on in the week. If you are enjoying this series, this is number 7. Next one will be 8. I haven't figured out which one I'm going to do yet. I will do that later on today. If you have a recommendation, please let me know in the comments. If you're feeling generous, please consider subscribing to my Patreon or donating to my Cash App, or any kind of support really helps. A like, a share, a comment, that's all free. I could use that as well. But I am unemployable. Every penny helps. Buy a t-shirt. Hit up my sponsors in my link. Shout out vidIQ and OpusClips, W Energy, and who am I forgetting? ClickFunnels. All the links are in the description. W, you get like 10% off on an order. And I think ClickFunnels and OpusClips and vidIQ are a pretty good discount as well. Let me know. Use my links and then let me know what you did. Alright, I'm going to let you guys go. I love you. Go love somebody that you don't like so you can love yourself properly. I will see you in the next video. Take it easy. Go love yourself. Go love somebody so you can love yourself. Shut up, Wes. Peace. So anyways, let's get into it.